Hi everyone, my name's Julie Sale and I'm the founding director and principal of the Contemporary Institute of Clinical Sexology, which we call CICS for short. And I just want to spend a moment here to talk through CICS' commitment to anti-oppressive practice. So we've been committed to inclusion and inclusivity from the start of our organisation, and inclusion is one of our guiding principles. And as time has developed, we've come to understand that the term inclusion can have some omissions within it, and that really the broader picture is for us to be thinking about anti-oppressive practice. So that's establishing approaches to teaching and creating teaching spaces that identify and understand, acknowledge and attempt to unpack the structural inequalities that we have in our societies, and to take care of identities in our student body and in our potential clients for people who experience minoritization and marginalization. So since 2020, we've had an anti-oppression consultant, and that's the wonderful Natasha Anderson Foster. You can see details of Natasha's biography and her profile on the CICS website. So Natasha is a senior accredited psychosexual and relationship therapist. She's a Black British woman, and she has been our anti-oppression consultant since 2020. And her role is to guide CICS through ensuring that we adhere to our anti-racism statement, and we consider the dimensions of racially minoritized identities that are ethnically minoritized, culturally, religiously minoritized identities, and ensuring we take care of those identities well within the context of our school and the specialism of sex and relationship therapy. And more recently, that has involved our undertaking to decolonise the CICS syllabus, which at the time of this recording, which is right at the end of 2024, we have been working hard to decolonise the curriculum, looking from right from the beginning of our early trainings on the qualifying pathway all the way through to our advanced diploma, looking at what has been omitted or minimised or missed because of not bringing that awareness of colonisation to the profession of psychotherapy broadly, which is, in the way that we experience it here in the UK, a white, Western, male-dominated in its initial creation, female-dominated in its application now in the UK. Profession. So Natasha is pivotal to that for us. And Natasha is part of our Standards and Advisory Board. And on our Standards and Advisory Board, there is a person of senior status who represents each cluster of identities that we need to maintain an anti-oppressive approach to. So we have a Standards and Advisory Board member for focusing in on disability, and a person for focusing in on gender, sexuality and relationship diversity. And then there's myself and my colleagues who focus in on economic and class dimensions. So there are commitments right from the most senior level in our organisation, which is our Standards and Advisory Board, on paying attention to establishing anti-oppressive practice within our organisation. And it takes a lot of work, and it's more than having specific trainings on diversity or how to understand different cultures. And we are deeply conscious of ensuring that this is an approach that includes everyone and identifies the way that society influences and impacts on everyone, and how we are experienced as individuals within the learning space, and how we are experienced as therapists. So It's having a deep awareness of your own social position and how that can be experienced by others, regardless of your good intentions. So, I'm a white woman and I'm the head of this organization. And so there are things that are out of my lived experience in terms of race. I'm racialized white. I haven't had any experiences of racial discrimination because my skin color has been classified as white. And that means that the kind of work that's involved in understanding an experience for a person of color is down to me to engage in, which I'm deeply engaged in. So I have the identity of woman, and so there's all of the joys and all of the challenges that come with being a woman in society, and the inclusions and exclusions that are involved in that. And therefore, I'm called to think carefully about what it might be like to be a man and what it might be like to be a trans person in our society, and how the dimensions between myself as a teacher or a therapist, how they relate to those identities, gender identities that are different to mine. As you'll see from any engagement in anything that I create, there'll be a reference, if I'm talking about myself, there'll be a reference to my working class upbringing, which I'm really proud of. And it's a heritage and a family I'm proud of. And it means that, I have an insight into economic difficulties and just, the culture of a specific class of people in the UK. And what that can mean is that can bring up some dimensions for me in transference and counter-transference when I'm working with people who have money, or who have had a different classification in the way that they were raised. And I need to hold that awareness and that attunement to ensure that my biases and potential influences of my own upbringing are conscious in work with my students and with my clients. So just a few examples of the way we need to think about our identities within our work. And as the head of our organisation, I am very much committed to ensuring that we have a programme that's accessible to everybody, that people feel safe in, as safe as we can feel when we're studying to be a psychotherapist, because that is inherently destabilizing, but that there's safety, that people feel they can speak and can say how they're experiencing the space, and that we can commit to listening and doing something differently once we've had that feedback. So, that's our commitment. It's a principled commitment, and it requires a lot of hard work and vulnerability. And we want to invite our students into a space of mutual respect and care and calling in rather than calling out of things that don't seem to fit, looking at how oppression can be subtly deployed, even with from people who don't necessarily have power, might have the power of knowledge and a sense of a higher level of insight into something which would come with having a marginalized identity and experiencing discrimination. And that can be, ironically deployed as another form of oppression or power in a space which can perpetuate silencing and fear and concern. And we're conscious of all of that and absolutely understand how that can happen. So they're our commitments, they're our intentions. Do we get it right all the time? No, of course not, because we're human, and a lot can be within our awareness and a lot can be outside of our awareness. But what we are committed to is continual improvement in that. And anyone that's experienced time at CICS will know that if something's brought to our awareness, we will sit with it and we will think about it and we will do something about it. So that's what I wanted to share. The proof of the pudding is in the making, as they say. Why do they say that in the UK? In certain contexts, essentially, words mean very little in this process of commitment to anti-oppressive practice. It's about the actions. So they can only be tested when you're with us. And by looking at some of the things that we've created, that we've made public, when you can see me in conversations with people on themes like this, and you can sense in your own neurology whether I feel like, and therefore CICS feels like, a safe space for you. So that's what I wanted to say on that theme. Far much more is done in the actual spaces of learning at CICS, and we invite you in. You are very welcome, whatever your identities. We are multiple identitied human beings within CICS as teachers, and we've had multiple life experiences. Any person who's involved in psychotherapy has had some touching and moving and difficult experiences at some point in their lives. All humans have. So we come into the space as humans, as colleagues, as respectful and relationally warm people, and we want to guide you through your learning in the specialism of psychosexual and relationship therapy, whilst continually learning ourselves how to do this well. So you're welcome. Please find out more about us. If you have any questions, do reach out and ask. If you'd like to speak to people who've had direct experience of CICS as our students, then again, drop us a line. There are students who are really well graduates, and current students who are very happy to share their experiences. Thank you for your time.